If you're ready to incorporate retinol into your routine, here is a quick guide.
Yeah.
All right, percentage.
Yeah, so if you are absolute beginner, never touch retinol in your life, we want you to just look into the 0.1 to 0.3% category. If you are trying to graduate from that, you want a little higher strength, 0.5 is fine, and then your absolute max is going to be at 1%.
Morning or night?
That's honestly, you can use it morning or night. It's really dependent on your routine and what you've got going on. For the most part, people will want to use it at night because you've got a lot of actives and your sunscreen during the daytime.
Yep.
So that's kind of just how it is. But it's honestly whatever fits best. You just want to use it consistently.
Yes.
So whatever that's going to take.
And that brings us to the next question. How often should you use retinol?
Look, how often you use it.
Ramp up to daily is the goal. Consistency is the key.
Yeah.
You can use it every other day, and just like when your skin goes through retinization, you will still see some improvement.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, you want to find a percentage where you can use basically nightly.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, Goya, where does it go in your routine?
I think we briefly mentioned this, but retinol itself is an oil-based ingredient. You'll often find it in some sort of emulsified cream.
Yeah.
So it will go after your hydrating stuff. If you use a toner, a hydrating serum, it will go after that.
Yeah.
If you have a heavier duty moisturizer, or if you have dry skin, just want something that you know you can rely on for moisturization, use that after the retinol.
For sure. And what about eye area?
So you want to look for products that's specifically tested for the eye area.
Yep.
Retinol is also great for any sort of eye area concerns, but it can be really irritating. This is going to be very formula dependent. Experiment with it. Make sure it's a formula that doesn't run, and most ideally ones that have been tested specifically for it.
I also thought of something. A lot of times people will wonder if they can put retinol on their eyelids.
Oh, yeah.
And we would just like to say, maybe don't do this because the skin is so thin around that area. We've actually, it's not fun. If you do end up with irritation and kind of you will experience like scaling and irritation. So that was one thing I feel like sometimes people get carried away with the retinol around the eye.
For sure.
And then finally, what I realized we haven't talked at all, and it's the first thing that you deal with retinol, is purging.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. Yes.
Yeah. So purging is very normal. It can be anything from flaking, redness, dryness to actual breakouts. And purging, I know generally the timestamp is around, you're probably dealing with it for about 4 weeks to 6 weeks. And I can tell you, I think sometimes purging can be a lot longer depending how you're using it. So if, let's say, kind of Gloria was saying, you really want to work to getting it to like nightly. But if you are someone that's a little bit more like, you're going at it at a slower pace. So let's say you're on board. You're good enough with doing it every other night. I feel like that purging process can be so much longer.
Yeah, that's true.
And so that was just something I think sometimes it can be really confusing where they feel like, oh, hard cutoff, I'm still purging. This means it's not working for me. It can be longer. And also can be dependent on how aggressive you are with your retinol or retinoids in general. So that was just one thing I did want to add there. It can be a little mysterious in the beginning.
I also want to add that. So on my skin's not very retinol tolerant. Right now, I cannot use retinol, but when I get back on it, I have to acclimate every time. If I take a pause from retinol, I have to reacclimate. And usually, and that's such a good point. If you are someone that experienced like irritation from retinol, where I draw the line when is shedding, I'm like, whatever, it be what it be. It's gonna shed, and when it's done, it's great. But for me, it's when it's skin experience like painfulness, like when it's tingly. I definitely wait till that goes away before I keep going or ramp up. Because like sometimes it takes a couple days for that effect to kick in.
Totally.
Like there was one time I thought, well, I'm doing great with this 0.5. It's time to go to a 0.5. And I think it was an Obagi one. Obagi has a pretty reliable line of retinol. And I went to their 0.5. First day, feels great. Next 2 days, I don't feel anything. And I kept using it and I was like, wow, I think I'm ready for daily. Oh my God, the pain. Like Aqua Fix felt like I was like burning my skin on fire, and like washing my face was painful. Just don't let it get to that point.
Yeah. And that actually reminded me of another thing that happens is sometimes when you take a break from, let's say you used to be a tretinoin user and then you take a break for a long period of time. Sometimes the expectation is that, oh, my skin has had that history before, it'll be fine for me to get back on track. But skin essentially starts from 0.
Yeah.
And that's really common as well. Where like, wait a second, I used to use like a 0.1% tretinoin. Like what happened, you know? And then you're like back down to where you feel like even a 0.5% retinol feels like a lot. So I just want to put that out there that that's actually can be pretty normal, and that's just how skin is. You know, you kind of just have to work your way back up.
Yep.
Yeah.